Mr. Chairman, it is my pleasure to introduce a fine native of Illinois, PVA National President Jean Crayton. Jean was elected National President of the Paralyzed Veterans of America at its 63rd Annual Convention last August. He is a former United States Navy corpsman who served with the 26th Marine in Khe Sanh during the Tet Offensive. He is the first African American to be elected to the Paralyzed Veterans of America's highest office. Jean enlisted in the United States Naval Reserve in 1965 during his junior year in high school and entered active duty following graduation. He was assigned to the 26th Marines and shipped to Vietnam, where his unit was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation. Jean left active duty and was assigned to the Marine Reserves. Then on April 6, 1969, an automobile accident left Jean a paraplegic. In November 1970, he was honorably discharged from the Navy. Before becoming National President of PVA, Jean served 5 years as PVA's Vice President and 3 years as its Senior Vice President. Jean's keen interest has been in making housing and transportation accessible for people with disabilities, and as Vice Chair of the Bi-State Americans with Disabilities ADA Committee, he addressed the issues associated with accessibility in public transportation. He also served on the Housing and Urban Development ADA Committee, whose goal is to ensure accessible housing opportunities for members of the disability community. Jean is a dedicated advocate for all disabled Americans. I welcome him here for his first annual congressional testimony, and I thank him for his service to America and to Americans' veterans. Welcome, Mr. Crayton. We are so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. Mr. Crayton, before I give you the floor, I'd just like to point out all your written testimony will be made part of the record. We hope they'll keep the oral testimony to about 5 minutes. We have a little lighting system there that's green for 4 minutes, and then yellow for 1 minute, and then red, and something comes down and takes you right up. Mr. Crayton, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Representative Harrison, for your kind introduction. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Jean Crayton, National President of the Paralyzed Veterans of America, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here today representing PVA's members and all veterans. Your concerns we have behind me are my fellow officers and representatives of our 34 chapters across the United States and Puerto Rico, too, by the way. Your concerns for veterans has been demonstrated by the support you've given to secure and unprecedented resources for the Department of Veterans Affairs and bringing about enhancement of advanced appropriations for VA health care. However, your job and ours is not done. There's much more to do. I have enumerated the legislative issues and concerns of Paralyzed Veterans of America in my full written testimony and detailed them in the independent budget. First, as I noted, VA in the last 2 years has received record levels of funding. You've also given VA new responsibilities and created new programs. Now it is important to ensure that these resources are used wisely and where they were most intended. I call upon you to use your oversight authority to track the use of these resources and to monitor VA's implementations of these programs to ensure that your intent and the needs of veterans for which they are targeted are in fact being met. Paralyzed Veterans of America has been and will continue to be an advocate for garnering necessary resources and benefits for veterans. We have a responsibility, as do you, to be stewards of the system. We must be able to say there are enough nurses at the bedside and the waiting times for referrals are acceptable. The resources must provide tangible results. While resources have grown, so has the reliance on medical care collections. However, we've received an increasing number of reports from veterans who have been inappropriately billed by Veterans Health Care Administration for their care. This problem is being experienced by both service-connected and non-service-connected disabled veterans. VA must immediately change its regulations to reflect that a permanent and total rating means that a veteran will not be billed for his care. If the VA is unwilling to make this change, then Congress must fix it through legislative action. We call on the committees to monitor the VA's redundant billing of non-service-connected veterans and take corrective action to alleviate this onerous and upsetting practice. It should be considered that veterans with significant catastrophic disabilities are likely to be compensated for the impact on their loss of quality of life. Special monthly compensation represents payments for quality of life issues, such as the loss of an eye, limb, the ability to naturally control bowel and bladder function, sexual dysfunction, or the need to rely on others for activities of daily living like bathing or eating. PVA believes that an increase in special benefits is essential for veterans with severe disabilities. Many veterans spend more on daily home-based care than they're receiving in special benefits. One of our most important SMC benefits is aid and attendance. PVA recommends that aid and attendance benefits be appropriately increased. Many PVA members who pay for full-time attendant care incur costs that far exceed the amount they receive for aid and attendance. We encourage the committee to consider the provision H.R. 3407, the Severely Injured Veterans Benefits Improvement Act of 2009, that specifically increases rates for catastrophically disabled veterans. With regard to family caregiver services, we ask the VA continue to enhance the support and educational services provided to family members caring for veterans. There are approximately 44 million individuals across the United States that serve as caregivers on a daily basis. The contributions of caregivers in today's society are very valuable economically as they reduce the cost of traditional care. The aspects of personal independence and quality care are extremely important to veterans with spinal cord injury or dysfunction. As a result of today's technological and medical advances, veterans are withstanding combat injuries and returning home in need of daily medical care. These veterans and those from earlier conflicts need the expertise from a health care team comprised of medical professionals, mental health professionals, and caregivers. We call upon the committees to complete the actions you started last year to enhance programs and service for caregivers. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the ongoing issue of the claims backlog. PVA stands ready to work with you as we continue to address this issue. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my statement, and I stand ready to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Crayton.